Hey there folks, John Henry, lowgenius.net, peoplesnewsnetwork.com. Thanks for stopping by. We are going to be discussing some myths about the Medicaid program that can surprise you and cost you and your family a great deal, including your estate and your heirlooms when you pass, as well as how the Affordable Care Act impacts that situation and what you can do about it. But first I want to take care of a couple of quick housekeeping items. Obviously, I've been working hard to sharpen up the visuals here, and I hope you'll enjoy the new stuff. I'm also working in a slightly different format. Rather than just me ranting at the camera, I'm framing things more like a news magazine, like The Daily Show or The O'Reilly Factor, with an extended running time and multiple segments. And I hope this gets more people interested and makes this stuff easier for you to share than just, some long-haired guy screaming at a video camera. And I thought it was about time I started putting some of this education that I'm paying for to work anyway. So with that in mind, I've rearranged my work area, and my script is now off screen, just to my left of the camera. And hopefully that'll be a little less distracting for you than me constantly looking up and down or, wearing the sunglasses and so on and so forth. Of course, this wouldn't be a problem if I was working in a real studio, which brings us to the last housekeeping bullet point, which is money. As some of you know, I don't get paid for this, and I rely entirely on ad revenue and your contributions to keep doing it. If you can help out with a direct contribution, please do. I am way too close to being out on the streets again, and I'm out of food. But even if you can't contribute directly, sharing content and spreading the word, links to my website, links to the videos, all that good stuff, helps bring other folks in, helps bring traffic up, helps spread the word, so please do that. I'll be discussing long-term plans and funding and where all this is going in a future piece. But for now, yeah, I'm hungry and I'm going to be homeless if I don't get some cash coming in here pretty quick. So if you can help, please do. Thanks, and we'll talk more about it later. You can find a link up here that says Support Independent Media, and that'll take you to a page where you can shoot a contribution through PayPal if you want to. So thank you very much. So moving into today's content, a few days ago I posted this meme, which is going to be up over my shoulder here, about Medicaid, and I was really surprised by the negative reaction from some folks, including some folks who call themselves liberal, like I was brutally denouncing Medicaid or something. That wasn't the intent at all. The intent was to inform people, to correct a very common misunderstanding that often ends up costing people a lot of money, even in the estates of their parents and their homes, family heirlooms, and other things which have some monetary value on the market but are priceless to the families and loved ones of those who think they're leaving a legacy to their heirs. I get that people think well of Medicaid, and I do too. To suggest that I'm trying to run it down or encourage its abolition is just knee-jerk silliness. Meanwhile, the people reacting that way are missing the point. The point is that Medicaid isn't free health care. It's really not even a insurance policy in the strictest sense of the word, because insurance won't try to put a lien on your home or other property to recoup the cost of paying benefits on a policy. Medicaid not only can recoup costs, it must do so under federal law for certain types of benefits. And you can find these on the Social Security Administration's website and read the information for yourself on the federal level. And there's some other state things too that we'll talk about in a minute. But keep in mind that it's deliberately written to be kind of confusing, as are most laws these days. But if you read it carefully, it's pretty clear. If you're permanently hospitalized, Medicaid will put a lien on any property which you would otherwise be able to keep and still qualify for Medicaid benefits. This is how the very poor are targeted, people who are asset rich but income poor. If you're low income and you apply for Medicaid, you're allowed to keep certain items like a car or a home or whatever. If you're judged permanently disabled, if you're going to have to go into like a nursing home situation, the thinking goes that you don't need these things anymore, and so the system will attempt to take them away from you to offset the cost of your care paid for by Medicaid. We'll get into why that's wrong and how it happens in a bit, but right now the point is simply that you need to be aware of these things to protect yourself and your heirs from having your property, your legacy, your life's work seized simply because you're too poor to afford health insurance. So let's look at the basics here, and then we can talk about how to protect yourself and how we can all work to change the system so that this doesn't happen anymore. Now, obviously, Medicaid does and should attempt to reclaim any payments that are made in error, whether on their end or because somebody's trying to deliberately defraud them or whatever. And that's the way it should be. I just wanted to make that point clear, so there's no accusation of being unfair or distorting the process for hype or whatever. There are legitimate circumstances under which it's perfectly reasonable that Medicaid would want to recoup its cash. But Medicaid will insist, though, even if the benefits were paid properly and legitimately, that all but the very most basic assets of a patient be liquidated if they're deemed to be permanently confined to long-term care. And if this is inpatient care, that includes putting a lien on your home, your vehicle, any other property that they deem of sufficient value. Now, obviously, if you're getting hospice care, they can't put a lien on your home, but they can still put a lien on your vehicle or other property, your bank accounts, and so forth. And when it comes to death benefits or estate reclamation, it gets even crazier. Medicaid will attempt to place a lien even on property like homes and vehicles, which aren't required to be liquidated to qualify for Medicaid once the patient's died. This is a key point because people make their wills and assign their property to heirs, but a Medicaid lien will take precedence over a will, and this creates a situation in which many people believe they've taken care of their heirs only for their heirs to find out after they died that the government has first dibs on that property and can force it to be sold. This is kind of the two big areas under federal law that Medicaid reclamation happens, but the law also leaves a wide open door for states to make their own decisions as to what other sorts of things they could reclaim. One of the favorite mechanisms for this is child support, and this is in Michigan as well as some other states. If you have a child that's born when you're collecting Medicaid benefits, the state will try to get that money back from you as soon as you're working or have a job, or if as part of a child support settlement with the other parent of the child or whatever. They will come after you for that. They'll garnish your wages. They'll take your income tax returns, whatever that they can do. And you can even go to jail for that. Okay, it happened to me actually. It's the only thing I've ever been in jail for. Was I thought that I had paid down what they call the confinement expenses for my daughter's birth many years ago. And of course, I've been moving around and I've been homeless and so on and so forth, so I'm not always easy to reach. And it turned out that the state of Michigan was tacking on an extra $150 a year or something for administrative costs because it costs so much money to maintain a single line in a database. And I wasn't aware of that. And so I thought that this had all been paid off, but it turned out that I still owed them like $700. So I had a bicycle stolen from me. I called the cops and reported it, and they took me to jail for the weekend. And so I lost 3 days of my life because of owing money to Medicaid reclamation. So this is a very real thing. It will, it has very real consequences in your life. And if you think you can't go to jail for owing money, you're dead wrong. And that's how it works in Michigan. Is they just move it. They call it child support instead of owing Medicaid money, and then they pursue you as though you're a deadbeat. So just keep that in mind. So we've seen that Medicaid is not welfare. It's not socialized, and it's not free. By no means is this a handout to people, and that was kind of the whole point of the graphic in the first place, is that the right wing characterizes these benefits as some sort of gift that they're giving out of the goodness of their heart, and it's not. It's a loan program. It's not a gift by any stretch of the imagination. It's certainly not a handout, and oftentimes it leaves people in no better condition than if they had just racked the bills up on their own and owed them at death. So we've seen Medicaid is not a free healthcare plan. It's certainly not a handout like the right wing loves to characterize it. Oh, you parasites living off of us. It's a loan program to the poor, and the government will try to get that money back any way that it can. So it's not welfare. It's not socialized medicine. It's certainly not free healthcare. And it's important to remember that not all Medicaid recipients will be hit with this stuff, but if the state can try to get that money back, they're going to do everything that they can. So we've covered the basics. Up next, how does the ACA impact this situation? What can you do to protect yourself? And what can we do to change the game to stop the practice of further marginalizing our most vulnerable citizens? Right after the break. Welcome back. Hope you enjoyed the break. So before the break, we were talking about just kind of laying out for you how this whole Medicaid thing works and how it's not a socialized medicine program and how it's really not even health insurance. One of the things that we're going to talk about now, and I think this is really important, is how the Affordable Care Act plays into this. And a lot of people, you know, you hear a lot of talk about the individual mandate and this and that. The Affordable Care Act requires you to have some kind of medical insurance. It doesn't matter what kind it is, but if you can't afford medical insurance, it will subsidize the cost of your insurance, or if you are below, I think it's 138% of the poverty level, it will automatically enroll you in Medicaid. And so now, with that in combination with what we've already discussed, what happens is people are going to end up being at risk of losing homes and losing property and not even realizing it until it's too late. The Affordable Care Act will automatically enroll registered users in Medicaid if they become eligible. And so people may find themselves subject to these Medicaid reclamation recovery rules without even realizing. And that doesn't mean that ACA sucks or that it's a big, Obama's trying to take your home or any of that crap. It just means that you have to have your information in order. You've got to be aware of what's going on and how to deal with it so that you don't get hit with this stuff. In terms of protecting yourself individually, the biggest thing is to not have assets, right? To do the best you can to divest yourself of you know, these properties and things before it comes down to a point of, you know, you're being hospitalized or institutionalized and Medicaid having to pay for it. And under the federal law, they have what's called a look-back date. Basically, when you apply for you know, Medicaid or whatever, they look back 3 years. To make sure that you haven't, you know, try to unload property to make yourself look more poor than you really are. So if you are in a position where you can plan ahead, the smart thing to do is transfer those assets either into some kind of a trust or into, you know, the ownership of the heirs to whom you intend to leave it anyway, well before any of this becomes an issue. Okay, and you definitely want to talk to some kind of a state attorney about this, because I'm not a lawyer. I'm just telling you what I've read in the law, and how I would approach, you know, avoiding having my stuff taken away from my daughter when I die, if I happen to die in a nursing home. You have to be aware of this stuff. So keep aware that 36-month thing is kind of a magic number. And if you get things dealt with before then, you should be pretty safe. Now, in terms of the rest of us, the big picture, how does this happen? Well, all of this cascades down from the idea of for-profit healthcare. If we weren't under a for-profit system, there wouldn't be any need to reclaim these costs. And under normal, truly socialized medical systems like they have in Europe and blah, 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 you know, all these other places around the world, people don't have to worry about this stuff. They don't have to worry that their property is going to be taken away from them because they died and they were in hoc to Medicaid for a bunch of money, because they have real insurance and we don't. So we have to keep fighting and keep pushing for a true universal single-payer publicly funded healthcare system. That is the ultimate solution here. It's the fairest solution, and it's the one that's going to work, and it's the one that you know, the vast majority of the civilized world has used. And that's where we need to head. And that's not saying, oh, I hate the Obamacare, blah, 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 that Obama's so evil, blah, blah. That's not what this is about. What this is about is understanding that while the ACA is a step forward from what we had, it's nowhere near what we really need. And what we really need is a universal, single-payer, publicly funded healthcare system. For-profit healthcare is fundamentally unethical. It has an inherent motivation to not help people reach maximum health. It has an inherent motivation to prevent people from being healthy, because healthy people don't buy health care. You don't go to the doctor when you're not sick. And so as long as the system is set up such that the bigger money is to be made off people that are sick, there's always going to be this question hanging over the whole process of, well, wait a minute, what reason do you have to keep me healthy if my health is going to stop you from making money? For-profit healthcare is inherently unethical. And other nations and other cultures have realized this and understand it, and they've taken steps to correct it through the institution of a universal single-payer system. And that is what we need in this country. It is time for the United States to step up and start acting like the greatest country on earth, we keep saying we are. And even President Obama said, we've got the world's greatest healthcare system. And with all due respect, sir, bullshit, we don't. We have the most expensive healthcare system, but our results suck. And the reason for that is because it's a for-profit system. We need to get rid of that. We need to phase that out as quickly as we can. So that is the main body of our story. And we're going to go ahead and take another break now. And when we come back, we will have the LowDown Rundown. Stay tuned. Folks, this is the LowDown. I am John Henry from LowGenius.net. Thanks for sticking by through the whole show. This is our last segment, and we are going to do a little thing that I'm calling the LowDown Rundown. Part of the show, we'll take a look at some of the headlines from last week, some of the stuff that is a little bit easier to poke fun at because, you can't be heavy and down all the time. And I'd like for you to be able to walk away from the show when it's all said and done with a smile on your face. So let's take a look at some of the LowDown Rundown. Some of the stuff that's going on this week. Out in Arizona, the state legislature has passed a legal discrimination law allowing business owners to prevent homosexuals or whoever they want on whatever religious or personal grounds that they can find from, renting property and coming into their stores and so on and so forth. This is also probably the final nail in the coffin of the tourism industry in Arizona, except for the very small group of white supremacists and neo-Nazis who like to hang out in these kind of bleached situations where they can, avoid having to mingle with the underclasses. There's a similar bill pending in Kansas. And it should be noted that as of this moment, Arizona Governor Jan Brewer hasn't signed this legislation yet, so it still might end up getting spiked, but she's a hard one to predict, she's a pretty hardcore right-winger, but at the same time, once in a while, she'll surprise you. So we'll see what happens with it. But either way, this is stupid. Although one funny result is that one restaurant in Arizona has already put up a sign saying that they will no longer serve Arizona state legislators, which of course is perfectly legal under the new law. Another quote making the rounds of social media over the last day or so. And John Boehner in 1996, during an interview, was discussing raising the minimum wage and told a reporter that he would kill himself before he raised the minimum wage. He'd rather commit suicide than raise the minimum wage. I'm not one to take joy in death, and certainly suicide is no laughing matter. But at the same time, if those are the only available options on the table, Speaker Boehner. And of course, we've got Ted Nugent, good old Spedley Tedley. About 3-4 weeks ago, he did an interview with Dana Loesch on Glenn Beck's website, in which he said that his detractors don't dare to debate him. And ever since then, I've been going, hey, I dare. I'm in the liberal media. I'm one of your detractors. Matter of fact, I've got a video up that titled Ted Nugent is a Coward. It's been there for 2.5 years. It had 125,000 people have seen it. I'll debate you. And he's continued to run for me, and I put up a couple videos and on and on. So, but I want to keep the pressure up on this because I want to debate the guy. I want to sit down and talk to him and do it in public and on camera and in front of a crowd and with the lights. So that I can, deconstruct his sick and twisted and evil ideology, and hopefully make a point to a large audience about why this just doesn't work. The way he thinks doesn't work. The way his fans are hilarious. The way they think doesn't work either. These people they'll come on to my page and go, well, you ought to get a haircut. You're defending Ted Nugent and telling me to get a haircut, right? And of course the usual, whatever, call my mom names or accuse me of being a homosexual or claim that I'm on drugs or whatever. And it's all bullshit and it's all stupid. And these people are bullshit and they're stupid. And it's about time that got pointed out. I prefer to avoid confrontation and screaming and aggression whenever I can. But unfortunately, there's a small segment of the human population who only understands certain modes of communication. And we on the left, or we progressives, or we liberals have a tendency to try to be polite and to try to play this, you catch more flies with honey sort of mentality, and that's fine. But with these people, nothing's going to get through their head except, a smack. That's all there is to it. This kind of stuff is just stupid. The racism and the misogyny and the chest stuffing about what a great hunter you are because you can go out on can hunts, or what a great person you are because you go out and do all these evil things, then you throw a little bit of money at a charity to make yourself look good. That's got to stop. I see through it, and I think most of my viewers see through it, most of you see through it, and it's time to stand up and say so, and maybe this ignorant twit will finally fade into the obscurity that he so richly deserves. So that is our show, folks. Thanks for sticking around and watching through the inaugural edition of the Lowdown. Remember, you can buy the t-shirt. If you can contribute another way, please do. Share, like, comment, all that good stuff. And we will see you next time.